Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UnWrapped podcast. I'm your host, Emily Vogel, and of course, we have your other host here, the amazing Andy Ortiz.
Hello, friends. I love this intro. I want to bask in it more, but also, Emily, where the hell are you? I usually know where in the world you are. I don't recognize this background. Are you good? Are you safe? Is everything all right?
I'm actually like blink twice if you need help. No, I'm actually
sunlight, so you're probably fine.
I'm safe. I'm good. I'm actually recording this live from my hotel room in Denver. I'm here for Series Fest.
I knew this. I'm not a bad friend. I knew this. I just momentarily forgot.
Yeah, it's awesome. And if you don't know about Series Fest, check it out. I always describe it. It's my second year, and I describe it as like summer camp with open bar and a bunch of film geeks. It is just such a vibe. It's so fun.
And
I've
yet,
been here.
second year, and you have not taken me once. I'm
I
not saying I'm mad at you. I'm just saying that there's a conversation that maybe needs to be had.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it, and it's manifesting. And I'm putting in the work. I'm putting in the work.
Bless you.
Um, But yeah, it's been really fun meeting so many awesome people here, which is really great. But of course, the writer strike is also going on.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, what is it looking like at because that's one of the few events that's like happening. Well, not one of the few because it's Emmy's time, of course, but like a bigger one. What is it looking like over there? Like, how is this going?
Yeah, because obviously the writer strike started last week, and this event has been planned for a while now. And
Right.
a lot of obviously, of course, all of like the showrunners and the writers aren't able to be here, of course, for valid reasons. But also, even if they still wanted to come, WGA regulations just doesn't allow that to happen.
Right.
But it's really cool that this event is still going on because it's all about up and coming, rising writers and talent and people. It is a festival, so people are showing their projects and they want to come and learn. So it's really empowering to still have this festival going. And they have gotten really creative in the way that they've done things. For example, earlier this week, they did like the world premiere of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars,
Right.
and the creators and producers were supposed to come and receive an award, but obviously with the writer's strike, they couldn't come. So what the festival did is they just went out and got a bunch of awesome drag queens from Denver, and there was a drag show.
So
And
you were thriving.
I was thriving. Monday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, best time for a drag race. It was so fun. I was thriving. So it's just really good to see like the energy here. And of course, it is a topic of conversation that is
Right.
happening at most panels or just, at the happy hours. It's everyone's obviously talking about it, but it's still cool to see people who are here who are still, remaining hopeful and positive. And there's still, this is still an industry. And, whether it's 100 days or 200 days or 300 days, however long the strike goes, this is, one day, we'll be back. So
Right.
I think that's
That's
important.
what I've noticed as well in all our coverage, which if you have not checked out the Wraps coverage on the ongoing strike, we have a whole bunch of it. We have a whole bunch of it coming. So make sure you are staying very tuned on social media. Come to thewrap.com, subscribe to all the Wrap newsletters. We have it all for you. And that's just what I keep hearing is these people want to work. They just want to work for fair wages, which like super valid.
Right. And I also heard at a State of the Industry panel, the executive director and chief negotiating officer of SAG-AFTRA was saying too, the contracts for the DGA and for SAG expire on June 30th. So once that's done, they're not able to cross the picket lines until then. But then when that happens, they'll be striking as well. And obviously everyone's really supportive. And Andy
Yes.
also just moderated a epic panel all about
I sure did.
mothers who are on the picket lines, who are out there, of course, juggling being a mom, being having a career as a writer, but then also,
Trying to get basic health care
health,
for
yeah,
them, for their kids, and also asked about how they are explaining because some of these women have their kids with them on the picket line. So I asked about how they explained it to them. So I would 10 out of 10, might be a little bit biased here because I mean it's me, but 10 out of 10 would recommend you checking out that panel because it's really, really good discussion.
yeah, it's really empowering. And yeah, again, as Andy mentioned, continue to just check out thewrap.com for updates. We got it all there. We're out there on the picket lines, talking to people. It's really awesome. But Andy, I kind of want to also jump in because we do have an amazing, awesome
We
guest
do.
today. Want
And
to tell
she
them
was
about it?
out at the picket lines. You might have seen
Yeah.
on social media. She has been out picketing. So I will preface this. I assume if you listen to our podcast, if you watch it, like you know this by now. But we do record our interviews a little bit ahead of time, just because that's how scheduling works. Everybody is very, very busy. So we spoke to the one and only Lisa Ann Walter from Abbott Elementary, and also from The Parent Trap. Obviously,
Obviously.
this is the one time that Emily and I were like on the same page of like, okay, we're gonna bring up The Parent Trap, right? Like it wasn't an obscure project this time; it was The Parent Trap.
We
So,
even wore, our jean shirts
oh, we
to be
sure did.
Chessie.
We
We should
sure
have
did.
worn them for this too, but oh
What
well.
are they calling that? Like Chessie core, right?
There was, like, fully, like, on because I love, like, being on TikTok and then going and finding Amazon shops where, like, people
Mhm.
curate, like, the Chessie look,
It's
and you can just
great.
buy
It's
them on
comfy.
Amazon.
Although, spoilers, Lisa did admit that that's not, like, if that's where, like, Chessie was going, that's not what she would wear. It shook my world a little bit. You'll see in a minute. I didn't totally understand how to react in that moment. But it is an excellent interview, and of course, she is excellent on Abbott Elementary. I don't think we need to hype her up anymore. We could spend the next hour just hyping her up. I don't think we need to, though. I think let's just get into it. Let's have some fun.
Let's do it.
Lisa, hello and welcome to Unwrapped. Thank you so much for talking to us today. We are so excited to have you. First and foremost, we start every interview the same way, and that is by asking you, how are you? Genuinely, how are you doing today? The world is a mess always, so how are you actually?
Um, you know what? I'm doing all right. Did not get good sleep last night. I went to bed really late, and then I got up really early because I've been doing press all day. So I thought I was going to be super tired, but I'm not. I'm really energized. I think I'm having a very good time talking about Abbott and my career, and I enjoy that. I enjoy
Good.
discussing self.
Well, good. We are happy that you are with us. Emily, as always, I have to check. How are you today, Emily? Are you good?
I am great, and I'm hoping we're gonna give you some more energy in this interview. Hopefully, we haven't scared you yet or anything, 'cause
Wow,
we like to have fun.
let's go. Let's do this. Kill it.
Let's kill it. Well, obviously, Emily and I, of course, both wore our Chessie shirts because we're
Mad.
big fans.
Me too. I wore. You know what Chessie wore? Little known fact: when she would go to San Francisco.
Really?
Yes. No.
Ah, interesting.
No. She would not. If Chessie got dressed up to go to San Francisco for the night, she would wear a different jean shirt.
Well, listen, we respect her choices no matter what. But talk about your career. I have to flail about The Parent Trap just a little bit. This movie is like a touchstone in my childhood, and I say that so sincerely. I watched this movie multiple times a week. Like I would go over to a friend's house after school. We would eat mac and cheese. We would watch The Parent Trap. I firmly believe you have two perfect line reads in that movie, and they are "Don't look at me. I don't know a thing." I use that all the time in my life. And then the other phrase I use is, "You got something you want to share with the class, kiddo?" It's great.
Yeah.
So you're
Thank
wonderful.
you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I will be 100% honest with you. I was maybe more than anything. I mean, I was kind of looking forward to the challenge of doing the I Am Annie scene, just because I knew that the acting challenge it would be to play it real and to be real in the scene. And I thought it was the first time on a movie set. We shot that for 3 days, and the
Oh,
crew gave me a round of applause when we finished. And crews
deserved.
are everything. They don't care, but it was just really I was going down my emotional journey as an actor was to do an emotional recall of having to leave my daughter when I was going on the road as a comic, because I worked up until 3 days before I had her. I went back to work when she was 5 weeks old. I was still nursing her, but we bought a house and we had to pay mortgage, and I had to work because I was the breadwinner. So I love the way that scene came out. But the line you mentioned, "Don't look at me, I don't know a thing," I think I
Yeah.
was looking forward to saying that more than anything in the movie, because I'm a fan of old movies. I was raised on them. My mother, you know, taught me about, all of the screwball comedies of the 30s and 40s, and, what fantastic female stars in those eras. And Thelma Ritter was always one of my favorites. And to me, that was a pure Thelma Ritter line reading. So I think I was channeling her when I did that line.
Flawlessly.
I love it.
Channeling her flawlessly, truly. And I'm that nerd that's like, oh, that was a great line read. And it sticks with me every single time I rewatch it. I'm like, don't look at me. I don't know a thing. Every time.
Thank you. Thank
Well, in addition to being huge fans of The Parent Trap, we're also huge fans of Abbott. And when I think of school, I always, think about like that first day of school and first impressions and like, what am I going to wear? And like, who am I going to see? So I'm curious to know, what were your first impressions of your castmates in Abbott?
Wow. That's a great question. We met on the Zoom, but you can't really get a sense of somebody we didn't even get to talk. Like usually a table read, you'll talk to each other for a few minutes and then you do the table read and then you like talk a little bit more and, you get to know each other. We didn't have any of that. It was COVID.
Right.
So they did the table read and I was thrilled with the talent that they got. I was like, oh my God, they're all so good. When we got to set, when we met in person, and we had a chance to, first of all, I sat next to Cheryl and we became besties in the, 20 minutes. We were like, had already shared our histories and our, single mom, divorced, raising kids in LA stories. And we became really close really fast. Everybody else I thought was so great at the job they were doing that I just wanted to tell them, like, it was weird. It was like, we just kept walking up to each other going, you're really good. A lot of times you do a show and like, you're good. Not everybody, maybe. Most people are great. You're all going to lie to each other and be like, oh, this is great. But we're not lying. We're optimists. As actors, we're optimists. We're supposed to believe this one's going to make it,
Yeah.
But in this case, none of us were lying. We were all just super excited. I remember going up to Janelle. She was standing against a trailer and she was talking to somebody. And I went, the joy that you have in being just incredibly ineffectual. It's beautiful. I love how you're doing this character. And I really meant it.
I love aggressive love because that is how I make friends just in life. I just aggressively insert myself and I'm like, you're mine now. I want you to be friends with me because you're great. So I'm glad to know that other people do this. It makes me feel better.
In fact, I had to remind myself, and still do, really, that when I talk to Quinta, who is, either I'm in a scene with her or we're goofing in between, takes of a scene, or she's sitting on the floor against a wall with a book of like scenery or some wardrobe or looking at casting for 2 episodes from now. I mean, she's incredibly busy and handles all of it beautifully. And I will grab her and say, did you eat? Why are you going out after work? You should take a nap. What? You need more rest. And then I'm like, she's my boss. Like, she is my daughter's age, but she's not my child, and I need to take it easy.
I need like a button with all of those sayings to help me remember to do all that stuff, or being like, you're the ultimate hype man, a hype woman.
Dude, no, and being on the receiving end of that, because my friends do that to me too, because I just sort of forget to eat sometimes. And so every time I see them, they're like, have you eaten today? And I'm like, I think so. And they're like, no, you need to eat. So being on the receiving end, it's great.
That's not something that I can, it's like you were speaking alien right there. I do not understand the Martian sentence of, I forget to eat. I don't understand it.
Good.
I understand women and that we get too busy to eat. And we, are like, no, I have more chores to do. I'll pee when I get home. Like, I understand that, but I don't understand I always remember I didn't eat. I complain about it.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Is I always remember, because what ends up happening to me is I'll start feeling sick like a day or two later. I'm like, God, I feel really like shit this morning. And my mom goes, yeah, well, you didn't eat lunch yesterday. You had like half a dinner yesterday. You haven't had a real meal in about a day and a half. And I was like, oh, it's a really great
Mom knows. He's keeping track.
Mom knows. Mom always knows.
And then, I'll look at Quinta and whatever she took for lunch, and then she eats a little and somebody pulls her away. And I'm like, hey, I'm chasing her.
Chasing her with a meal.
And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot force feed her like she's a veal in a cage or in Milton.
Well, it's like, I feel like you do that in The Parent Trap too. Chessie's like, what do you want to eat? Like, we're going to take you.
It's very similar to, Jessie is a Jewish mother. And my character is, I think Melissa is a little bit on the, I'm Sicilian, so it's a little bit of that Italian side.
Yeah, she's always whipping up like a lasagna for someone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. And I do that in life. and bring it into work. And everybody at this point knows that my meatballs are the best, and if they're lucky, they get to have some. And I don't have to force anybody.
We
Only
need
quit
that recipe.
not because also she runs out of time, but she also doesn't need that much because she's this big. She's like, I'm full. Well, that's fair.
I feel that's kind of how I am at times too. But I also want to ask in regards to Abbott, you've mentioned before that like you're a tough laugh, right? Because you're a comic. So it's hard to get you to laugh. You have a very like a high bar to clear, but Abbott did it for you. You read the script, you were laughing. I'm curious if you remember like what joke was it, or like was it a specific moment that really you were like, "Ooh, okay, that's the one. I'm in. I'm 100% in."
Wow, that is such a good question. Some of it was the stage direction, like literal, just like I could see it. The way it was written, I could see people being uncomfortable. But for me personally, it was the talking head. It was Melissa Chimenti, second grade teacher. You Italian? Or is it whatever? No, it goes, you Sicilian?
You Sicilian?
Italian? You from South? Okay, are you working with the cops? Because you got to tell me.
Yeah.
I was like, that's me. This is my job. It's my job.
I'm in 100%. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
I feel like now too, when I say her name, I have to be like, I don't know if I'm doing it right, but like Melissa Chimenti. Like you have to say
You want to say it like an Italian, like that? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because I said to them, I said, how are you hearing that? Chimenti in dialect that I'm familiar with is scumenti. There's a cuss sound, right? It's either scumenti or scumenti, like plain SK. And they were like, oh, it's Chimenti. There was a writer in the writer's room, and the father said it's Chimenti. And I'm like, are they Sicilian? Because I always heard SCH is Scumenti. But I'm like, we're going to have a hard enough problem with, Chimenti. Like, let's not make it worse. I'll just make it easy.
Yeah, just roll with it.
Just go with it. Yeah.
So one of the things too that the show I think does a great job on is, shining a light on the American public school system. And, recently it was announced that Florida is looking at banning elementary schools from teaching their students about the menstrual cycle. What do you have to say about that?
After you said the word Florida, you just could fill in all sorts of shenanigans. I'm going to try to be on my best behavior. Although my boss does not limit. Cheryl and I are both quite active and political, and I grew up in DC, and I've always been an activist and always been a feminist, and I do not hold my tongue often. So I have family that live in Florida, and also I see teachers being up against it quite a bit in many states in the country, that there are school boards that have decided that they can't teach lesson plans they want to teach, or they can't use the books that they want to use, and for myriad reasons. And yet they don't trust them to pick their own books, but they want them to carry guns. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. So we're going to go by Florida. I mean, honestly, you don't want people to talk about periods or teach about it. There is so much shame that goes along with how we move through our lives as women. We don't often on television talk about menopause because it's taboo, because women are valued for being beautiful and being maternal, smart and funny. It's fine. Beautiful, number one. Maternal, that's very important. We sell that in all of our movies and our shows and in life and advertising. We don't want to discuss how you get to be a mother, apparently, because the periods would be part of it.
Yep.
But that's messy. We don't want to think about that. You're a pretty girl. You don't need to talk about that mess. And it's just one of the lovely things about being a woman in America. It's craziness. It's just craziness. You're gonna have to hope that we're relying a lot on Gen Z, but something tells me that there's going to be an entire state full of badass little girls that march to school on the same day, like, just covered in tampons and, making up songs and, protest songs about periods and menstruation. And, come on. You're already, it's already embarrassing enough when you're growing up and you're going through it, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, exactly. For me, I was someone who developed super early and like had boobs in second grade and was made fun of, and that shame carried through with me in my body image even until
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
And this is kind of segueing into something else that I wanted to talk
No,
to you
wait a minute.
about.
Don't segue yet, because I remember when my daughter was in school. I have 3 boys and 1 girl, 4 kids because my vagina is a clown car. I mean, as long as we're going there. And my daughter had a classmate who was going through puberty at 11. She developed very quickly, and the girls started like gossiping about her. All of a sudden they assessed her with all these personality traits and that she was a slut and all this other stuff. And I was like, nope, not in this house. We don't do that. Let me tell you what's going on as a biological sort of throwback. This is your genetic imprint. Girls only have a certain number of eggs. So we are taught to be competitive with other girls, and that they might take the attention, or our man who was only supposed to raise our young. Even before you know what you're doing it, because they sort of train you to do this in society. So it's not, she's going through puberty. She's developing because her body is changing. Boys are giving her attention because she's the first one in the school with boobs. And you are not going to keep that shame on her. You are not going to do it. Not my daughter. And you better talk to your friends and make sure they don't either, because that has nothing to do with who she is. And she talked to her friends, and she was like, yeah, no, you were right. And that was not fair. And they were all really good to each other after that. I was very proud.
Good.
I love that so much.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
but that kind of stuff is that's how we learn in these situations where we're at least discussing this stuff. I don't understand why would crazy. What was your segue?
Right.
So,
no, no, because I was just saying, I feel like that had such an important, like the shame that came with that. And again, like people gossiping or making fun of me, being bullied, going home and like crying. But I think one of the ways that I kept through it is, like through humor, or even, like even then it like kind of led to an eating disorder, and then kind of joking about that. And then I know you've, spoken about Cheryl has, kind of helped you to stop with these self-deprecation jokes about body image. And I'm just curious, because this is something that I do all the time. How do you do it? Like, did cold turkey, like, I feel like I'm always like, if I say it first, then they won't say it or think it.
I was a fat kid growing up. I was the fat kid. And in those days, there was a fat kid. People did not put on weight. We wouldn't, they hadn't changed the genetic makings of our wheat yet. We were still eating food that was food. But I had parents that divorced. It was very hard on my mother. She went totally bat-ish crazy. And I was coming home alone from school, and my comfort was bread with butter and sugar on it. And then I taught myself to cook very early, like 9. And because I was like, I like to eat. I better teach myself to cook because my mom's not around, so I better do this. Yeah. And I got heavy and teased mercilessly. And I was always the chubbier one between me and my sister anyway. She was always effortlessly skinny, and I was effortlessly not skinny. And I developed not yet. I mean, I was fat for a while, and then I lost weight. And then right after I lost weight, I got, and it wasn't even that much, but it was enough for me to be 110 pounds, 36, 24, 36. The boys were all like, but I never felt like that about myself. I never thought that was me. I was overly sexual and overly boisterous and funny about sex because I was more comfortable with that. We also were, my sister and both my neighbors were molested by the pedophile that lived 2 houses down from me. And so my power, and I was the one who made everybody tell, but it felt so powerless because nobody did anything about it. The dads didn't do anything. My father, it was already, parents were divorced. He wasn't living at home. They didn't really, in those days, nothing was done. We did what we were supposed to do. I made them do it. Little baby feminist Lisa made them, and they did nothing about it. Nothing happened. Parents were still letting their little kids go to this guy's house. So I grew up feeling Like, I better be powerful, and I better tell the truth and be, I guess, loud and funny, because that felt stronger to me. It felt safer. So I intellectually knew what I was doing, but that felt safer to me. And then I developed an eating disorder. Almost all of us did. If you were a white girl in those days growing up, you were taught there's all this stuff wrong with you and you should fix it because you're not going to be liked. You're not going to be loved. You're not going to be in a happy marriage. So there's a panic that comes with it, that you're, either starving or you're throwing up or whatever it is that you're doing. And we're not talking about it with each other. So we all just were carrying this shame and secret. And it was just terrible. That's why I wrote a book. The best thing about my ass is that it's behind me. Mm-hmm. And it's about women and self-loathing. And it's funny, but it's also telling the truth about all the stuff, playing, self-loathing whack-a-mole every day. There's something new you hate about yourself. I can't, it's not for this podcast, but for another time, I'll tell you about the one that the vaginal rejuvenation one that I was like, what is it you want us to do now? You want us to cut? I'm like, come on. I mean, that's testicles. So, I am really aware of the impact that my castmates, and in particular Cheryl, it's not just Cheryl, it's I'm in tight jeans and I'm like, oh, my jeans are so tight. Do I look okay in this? And Janelle will be like, okay, heart-shaped booty, and Quinta will say, like, you don't need to lose 10 pounds. Stop. This is not that show. I want you to look like you. You do not have to starve yourself. And Cheryl just flat out said, girl, you need to stop. Oh, you are beautiful. I will not hear it anymore. That is it. And I was like, you do what Cheryl says. When Cheryl,
that's a yes, ma'am, very quickly. Yes, ma'am. I will.
But more than that, intellectually, again, I grew up in the DC area. I knew that my body was not like the skinny white girls that I was desperate to look like, because I got this big Sicilian booty, which now people are paying to have. So everything, and I wrote about it in my book. Mm-hmm. Anywhere in the world, there's somebody that wants to look like you look, right? Or at some point in time in history, it might be 2 years from now. If you're really skinny, maybe that's the look next year. So we're all busy trying to kill ourselves to reach this unachievable goal. And the answer is, you're supposed to look like you look, and maybe just like that. And it's beautiful when you have the confidence in it. Cheryl is not in the shape she's in when she was a dream girl. She is still hot. She is stunning and gorgeous because she feels it. So it was a reminder for me that just because that I the girls that I went to school with, that the Black girls I went to school with, had such a positivity about their beautiful bodies, and it's not meant to be the same as very skinny white women. I'm not meant to be that.
I have chills. Like, thank you so much for sharing all of that. It's kind of changed my life a little. Like,
yes. No.
Thank you so much.
With that,
not just, that's the stuff they should have the class about, Florida.
Yeah.
That just at a time, take this on, just at a time when girls are starting to go through puberty, which, by the way, is nature telling their body, you need to pack on some pounds because this is the nest for the baby. Mm-hmm. Because evolution still hasn't caught up to the fact that there's a 7-Eleven on every corner and you could buy milk. You don't have to live off your fat in case another ice age comes. We're probably going to be okay for a few years. But your body packs on pounds just at a time when you just want to look like everybody else. You want to look like the girls in the magazines or the influencers. You want to look like them. So it's a whole, training ground for self-loathing and body issues, right? So we that's what they should be talking about. This is what happens when your body goes through this scientific thing.
Especially at such a formative time.
By the way, I love this conversation. I hope it's okay that we're spending this
No,
much time.
I'm like,
Oh my
I
God,
wish we could
yes,
talk all
please.
day.
Yes, and that's the whole thing. We would love to talk to you for even longer, but we know you have so many more things to do. Very, very quickly though, before we do absolutely have to let you go, I just have to ask on behalf of everyone, what do we have to do to get Elaine Hendricks on Abbott Elementary? Like a guest spot, please, 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 please. What do we got to do? Is it in the works? What can you say?
What? People will approach Quinta all the time about how about this person, and everyone's like, listen, they picked some amazing guest stars throughout the last 2 seasons. Like they've introduced America to Zach Fox. They've introduced, there so many good people, and the kids, just great talent that they've developed. And we've had some people be interested that she's like, that just doesn't make sense. I don't think I would have the nerve to bring up Elaine. She knows we're best friends. She saw us together with Elaine. I said, Elaine, be my date for the SAG Awards. And she showed up in a tuxedo.
And it was
The
great.
world saw that picture. So she knows we're best friends. I'm sure if she comes with an idea, she'll tell me.
Look,
but I don't know
her number. I will be that annoying journalist that's like, hey, Quinta, you don't know me, but you should put Elaine Hendricks on your show. Thank you so much.
Yes, but you should start here. Start with, first of all, Elaine and I have 2 projects that we're out with together, because I'm never, you've seen my litany of work and my resume. I don't wait for people to bring me jobs. I create. So whether it's unscripted, which Elaine and I have together, a movie, which Elaine and I have written together, I've got 4 other things I've done on my own. I'm out with stuff. So Elaine and I will be coming to a screen near you. And also, bug Disney. It's the 25th anniversary of the Bear Trap. Why have they not planned anything?
I will make that call.
We did our own on the 20th anniversary. Elaine and I are like, I guess they're not going to do anything. And we set up a bunch of press things because we had just gone to the Tonys together. And the picture we were both in red dresses, went around the world. It was all over the place. So we're like, well, I guess people are interested in us. We should probably do something. And we did a watch party that was on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And she was in New York and I was in LA. And we had all the fans watch it with us. So I don't know what they're planning on doing, if anything, but I hope something. Because
Disney, if you're listening, we're going to manifest that right now.
Literally.
We're making
Disney,
it happen.
Listen.
Give the people what they want.
T-shirts, rub them, and make a wish.
Yes.
Yes.
Lisa, you are incredible. We have to let you go. I can hear people screaming at us just in the distance going, she's got to go. We love you so much. Thank you so much for having this conversation with us today. Truly, it was wonderful for us both. And I'm going to speak for Emily on that one just because I know her well enough at this point. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Bye, you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
We're back. Just to be so clear, I have written a handwritten letter every single day since we talked to Lisa Ann Walter, begging Disney for a 25th anniversary event for the Parent Trap. That's a lie. I haven't. My handwriting is terrible. I'm a lefty, so my clutch the pen too tight. But listen, in my heart, I've written letters. I can't get over. 25 years of the Parent Trap stresses me out so much. We're old. We're a little bit old.
We're a little old. I know, it scares the shit out of me. But also, again, now I know we haven't started writing letters, but we will, and we encourage you to as well. Come on, Disney. Watch party.
Disney.
Let's do it. Party.
Listen, we need it to happen. And we'll make it happen. One way or another, we will make it happen. I'm obsessed with her, and I'm obsessed with her friendship with Elaine Hendricks. One thing I meant to tell her, and I totally forgot to. Guys, you know this, you've seen The Parent Trap. Elaine Hendricks, she plays Meredith Blake in the movie. I have believed for years, I maintain to this day, that woman deserves an award for the screaming she does in that movie. Specifically, the scream when she's on the lake. The way she shredded her vocal cords. It's chef's kiss. Elaine Hendricks, we love and appreciate you. And if you ever want to come join us on UnWrapped, please do. And I will just tell you all of this in person. You deserve some kind of trophy for that screaming. Yeah. Bow
down to the legend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously we love Lisa, but we also do have a lot of other exciting guests coming up. We do announce those ahead of our episodes on our Instagram at WrapWomen and on our Twitter at TheWrapWomen. You can also check out our newsletter, which you can subscribe to at WrapWomen.com. And feel free to check us out too. Throw us a shout out. On Instagram, I'm Emily Vogel, please. And on TikTok, I'm also Emily Vogel, please. And Andy, I'll let you jump in with yours.
Oh, you're throwing in a TikTok plug today. Okay.
I'm throwing in a TikTok because I don't do Twitter.
I I finally got like decent at Twitter, decent-ish, and then Twitter went the way Twitter did. So yes, Instagram at really_Andy, and then on TikTok it's just really Andy because I was able to get it on everything but Instagram. So again,
We
Instagram Andy, this is your weekly shout out. Mad at you. Hope you're loving your life though.
we love it. We love it. And again, as Andy and I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, also just stay tuned on thewrap.com to everything, all of our coverage on the writer strike. We are
Yes.
there on the front lines, getting all the
This
info.
it's a very rapidly developing story, and right now we don't know when it will end, but we are, like Emily said, we are on the front lines. We are making sure that we are on top of it. So if you want to be informed, make sure you are just sticking with us, and we'll make it as palatable. Because that was the thing I struggled with at first, was like just understanding it all. It's a lot to digest, but we are making it very easy. At least I like to think we are. But again, I'm in like a tooting my own horn kind of phase today. I don't know. Is it confidence? It's weird.
You're in your confidence era. That's what's
Dude,
happening. And I love it.
guess.
I love it.
It's strange.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of Unwrapped, and we will see you next week. Bye,
Bye, friends.
everyone.